I think I speak for a lot of fantasy players when I say, thank goodness Week 8 is almost over. It started terribly with so many players missing, injuries, Bimageddon, and it barely got any better here on Sunday. And of course, we got to start with the big one, unfortunately, Cam Skattebo. Man, really, Cam Skattebo? Come on, why Cam Skattebo? One of the most fun players, looking like a league winner. I mean, even if you didn't have Cam Skattebo on your fantasy team, you probably still liked Cam Skattebo. I mean, it's just fun watching this guy, right? It's a guy who would score a touchdown and then look for somebody to hit, right? Even if it's his own teammate. Such a fun player. What a brutal injury. Of course, season almost certainly over. I mean, definitely his season is over. You don't need to ask, like, is he going to come back? No, he's not going to come back. Let's just hope the surgery goes well tonight and he can return healthy in 2026. Of course, Pierre will probably break this down more on the waiver wire video when he talks about the injuries. Talk about who you can pick up here if you've got Skattebo. But man, I mean, even if you didn't have him on your fantasy team, like I said, this was a guy you just had to root for. You had to feel good for. So much energy. Of course, out for the season. Just a brutal start to Sunday on Week 8. And it didn't really get a whole lot better. Look, late in that Eagles-Giants game, Saquon Barkley, who finally was having his best game of the season, looked like last year Saquon Barkley came up limping with what they're calling a groin injury. Now, he did say after the game, he could have gone back in if it was like a playoff game or if it was close. They do get the bye in Week 9, so that's good here. Let's hope he comes out of the bye week healthy, because it's like you finally get Saquon Barkley, right? Finally, all year you're like, man, where's the guy drafted first round pick, the guy from last year? You finally saw him this week, and then it's got to end like that? Really? Come on. So let's just hope he is healthy coming out of the bye, because again, this is just like a ridiculous kick in the nuts to fantasy football players. Like, first you're going to take Cam Skattebo from us, and then you're going to give us the Saquon Barkley we expected and take him away. Like, what did we do to you, fantasy gods? Why do you hate us right now? And then again, another good, young, exciting, promising running back, Quinshon Judkins, left that game with a shoulder injury, did not come back in, wasn't even having a good game before he left, right? Like 19 yards on 9 carries. Somehow had negative 2 yards on 3 catches. But again, the Browns do have a bye this upcoming week. But let's hope coming out of the bye, he's fine. We did say this was a tough spot, right? The Patriots are a tough run defense, and there always was worry that the Patriots were just going to win comfortably and game script him out. We'll never really know here because he didn't finish the game, of course. But again, another young player that if you had him, you're feeling good about. And the fantasy gods are like, nah. You don't get nice things in 2025. And let's just keep it going with the young, exciting running backs who we may not get in 2025 anymore. What about Omarion Hampton? Okay, yeah, he's not even playing, so you're like, well, how can you be panicking on Omarion Hampton? Well, after the game on Thursday, still in a walking boot here, and now they're saying his return is an unspecified window. Like, what does that even mean? We could be looking, week 13, week 14, maybe never this season. I don't know. Not to mention, they're saying the Chargers are in the market for a running back at the trade deadline right now. They're trying to, bolster this room. Oh, and then you got to factor in the fact that Kamani Vidal has looked good. Remember, before Najee Harris got hurt with the Achilles injury, Najee Harris was starting to come on. It looked like Najee Harris was going to be the guy. I don't think even when Hampton comes back, he's just walking into a workhorse role anymore. Vidal has been too good. And again, we have no timetable for his return right now. I don't think this is a guy you can hang on to, hoping he's going to come back late in the season as a league winner. I think Omarion Hampton is honestly a sell high right now, if you still can. And then we got to talk about his teammate Quentin Johnston. Man, for a month there, it looked like Quentin Johnston was going to be one of the best picks you could have made in fantasy. But over the last couple games, it has been horrible for Quentin Johnston. I can't even find him. I'm looking at the stat sheet here. I don't even see his name. Oh, that's right. That's because he had 0 targets this week. Dude just out there running wind sprints. Like, really? We can't even target this guy one time? This wasn't a terrible matchup here against the Vikings. And you look at it over the last 2 games, 5 targets, 2 catches, and 30 yards. That is ridiculous. I don't know what has happened here. Obviously, Ladd is starting to look like Ladd again. Keenan's been a little up and down. The emergence of Gadsden, I don't know. It looks like QJ is just back to being QJ, like the QJ we've seen his whole career, not the QJ we saw for the first month here. Just out there like as a decoy, running deep, taking the top off the offense. So Justin Herbert can just throw it underneath to like Ladd, Keenan, and Omarion Gadsden here. look, if there's any way you can still sell high on QJ, I think you got to try here. But looks like that window may have closed. And, any hope of QJ being a league winner, yeah, I think we got to throw that out the window as well. All right, real quick before I get to the rest of the names on this list, if you've been enjoying the content we're putting out or getting value from the content and you're not a subscriber yet, do us a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button. It only takes 1 second. We are getting so close to 100,000 subscribers, guys. It would be a great milestone to hit this year if we can. Help us out. Take 1 second. Hit that subscribe button. And I got to be honest, I'm starting to get a little nervous about Courtland Sutton here. He has 2 of his last 3 games where he's had 10 or fewer PPR points. And even the one game where he didn't, he got you only 14 PPR points, which isn't bad, but not the way this guy started the season. Hasn't scored. Did have a touchdown. He did drop a touchdown this week. I will say that. But the thing that worries me here isn't that Sutton, it happens. Guys go through stretches like this. But the Broncos offense, if you go to this game this week where they scored 40 plus points and the fourth quarter of last week, the offense has been unbelievable and Sutton's barely involved here. Saw RJ Harvey 3 touchdowns, Troy Franklin 2 touchdowns. Where was Marvin Mims, by the way? That was frustrating. But look, Courtland Sutton's the guy you're counting on week in and week out here, and he has not been very good the last few weeks. So I'm not full-fledged panic on Courtland Sutton right now. He'll bounce back. He'll score some touchdowns. He will be better. But you got to be a little nervous right now because, look, like I said, over the last 5 quarters, their offense has been a juggernaut, and he's barely been involved. And then, honestly, if there's even a chance that you can trade away Alvin Kamara right now, I think you got to do it. This Saints offense looks like a total mess. Even with Kendre Miller out, finally the workhorse back. 6 carries, 21 yards, only 2 catches on 50 targets. Between Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler, the Saints attempted 50 passes. He caught 2, and he only had 2 targets in this game. And that's a big issue here. At least in the past, we could say, okay, he's not running the ball well, but he's catching 7, 8, 9 passes, so it's okay. He's not even doing that anymore. And we saw Spencer Rattler get benched for Tyler Shuck. This offense, this is a mess. I mean, Chris Olave is the only guy you really want here, and even then, it's yeah, he's fine. Shaheed left that game late with an injury, so, that boom bust guy, who knows if he's even going to play. But, I mean, Kamara, he's still got name value. He's technically the guy here. I think there is still a sell window, but, man, don't delay here. If you can trade Alvin Kamara, you got to do it. Get this guy off your fantasy team. He's barely been good all year, and now even with the last 2 games with Kendre Miller out, still not very good. Yeah, the time to sell is now if you still can. And then I kept saying for weeks, sell Jordan Mason, sell Jordan Mason, sell Jordan Mason. Hopefully you sold Jordan Mason because I don't know if you can sell Jordan Mason anymore. I mean, he was out-snapped by Aaron Jones. He was out-carried by Aaron Jones 5-4. Obviously was out-targeted by Aaron Jones 4-1 here. Aaron Jones 2 catches, Jordan Mason only 1. Yeah, this is exactly what I was worried about. Why I was saying, hey, look, trade Jordan Mason while you can. People were acting after the Aaron Jones injury, they had stumbled into a league winner with Jordan Mason. And look, nobody talked up Jordan Mason more than me in the offseason as hey, a touchdown, kind of dependent late round running back you can draft. But his value became this guy that people thought he was just going to be an every week starting running back for their fantasy team. Aaron Jones was never coming back this year. This is exactly what I was worried about. This is why I was saying for weeks, please trade Jordan Mason if you can. I don't think you can anymore. Who is taking Jordan Mason at this point? How desperate does somebody have to be to want Jordan Mason on their fantasy team? And I mean, honestly, how desperate do you have to be to start Jordan Mason after this? Obviously, in week 8 here, there were a lot of people, myself included, that were desperate enough that did have to start Jordan Mason. But man, after this week, I don't know if I could be that desperate anymore. And I hate to say it, but it seems like the Rico ride is over here. Chuba Hubbard out-carried him by 4 this week, despite, again, Rico Dowdle averaging 6.8 yards per carry and Chuba averaging 2.8. I talked about it on the Secret Weapons Sneaky Start type video. I said, look, yeah, Rico's been better, but I really feel like Dave Canales prefers Chuba Hubbard. Here's your proof that Dave Canales prefers Chuba Hubbard. And of course, when it comes to passing, I mean, neither guy caught a pass here, but Chuba did have the only target in this game, and Chuba did score the only touchdown here. This is a problem because even though Rico's been so good, it doesn't matter. Dave Canales prefers Chuba Hubbard for some reason. So unless Chuba Hubbard goes down with injury again, we're probably not going to see, we're certainly not going to see the Rico we saw over that 2-game span where he was a beast. But even still, what Rico are we even going to see here? Because he's only going to get more and more behind Chuba Hubbard here as Chuba gets even healthier. It's another thing I talked about. Like, I think Chuba is going to be healthier this week. He's going to see more run, and he did. And guess what? He's probably going to see more run again next week and the rest of the season as long as he's healthy. So, look, Rico still has some value because, again, he has been running well, but that value is very minimal right now. Just like barely more than a handcuff at this point. But a running back whose value has completely taken a hit is Tony Pollard ever since Tyjae Spears has come back. Just has not been very good. Hasn't had more than 11 carries in a game since Tyjae Spears come back this week. Only 2 more carries than Tyjae Spears. Obviously, Tyjae Spears, the preferred passing down back here, 3 catches to 1, 3 targets to 2. And what do we see? Tyjae Spears was better, 6.6 yards per carry. Granted, a lot of that was on that long run, but Tyjae Spears also got the touchdown here. And you can say, look, it's because they're playing from behind. Well, guess what? It's the Tennessee Titans. They're going to be playing from behind almost every single week this year, so you cannot feel good. Again, Tony Pollard, another guy, started the season great. Looked like he was going to be a great fantasy pick. But ever since Tyjae Spears has come back, we have just seen too much of a split. And especially for this offense, like, how many chances are these guys really going to get to score on a given week? You're talking like you get maybe 1 or 2 chances to score a touchdown every single week here. You got to hope it goes to Tony Pollard. And some weeks, like we've seen, it's going to go to Tyjae Spears. So, not saying drop Tony Pollard, and I doubt you can trade Tony Pollard anymore. You probably just got to put him on the bench. His only real hope, kind of like Rico Dowdle, is a Tyjae Spears injury at this point. And then I think we have to start getting a little nervous about Baker Mayfield. I usually don't talk about like quarterbacks on this video because it's like it's quarterbacks or whatever, but Baker Mayfield was looking like a no doubt set and forget quarterback. But over the last 2 games, only 1 touchdown and 1 interception, hasn't thrown for more than 228 yards. Even this week against the Saints, 152 yards and no touchdowns here. Didn't even give you any rushing yards this week. And what's weird is, like, last week in that game where Evans left, he was missing Evans. Like, the connection with him and Evans didn't look great. And then later in that game, he missed Igbukah on a couple what could have been touchdowns. This week, that connection with Igbukah, it just didn't look like it was there again. Like, Baker Mayfield just looks off to me the last 2 weeks. After all, maybe all that MVP talk got to his head. I don't know, like everybody talking, oh, MVP. But he has certainly not looked like an MVP the last 2 weeks, and it's affected pretty much the entire offense here. I'm not panicking about Igbukah yet. I'm going to talk about him a little bit later here. Not panicked just yet. We'll see coming out of the bye. But I'm certainly getting nervous about Baker Mayfield, and I don't think we can just consider him like a strong start anymore, maybe even a solid start. We need to see something change with Baker Mayfield. And then do I even need to talk about Jerry Jeudy as a panic? No catches, 2 targets. Like, come on. No, you're not panicked about Jerry Jeudy, right? Do you even need to roster Jerry Jeudy anymore? I don't think so. All right, now let's get to those guys who, yeah, they let you down this week, but you should not be panicking about them. And let's start with Bijan Robinson and Christian McCaffrey. What are we doing talking about these guys? I don't know. Despite Bijan Robinson playing the Dolphins, somehow they got rolled, and he did nothing this week. And CMC only did a little something this week, but come on. These guys get a pass. They're going to be fine. Don't panic on these guys, please. And I'm going to say no panic just yet on Keenan Allen. Remember 2 weeks ago, he went off. Last week or this week, okay, yeah, he didn't go off, but we've seen him be mostly good this year. I am getting a little nervous because of the involvement of Gadsden here and the fact that Ladd is starting to look like Ladd again, but still, I'm not ready to panic on Keenan Allen just yet. And I talked about Emeka Egbuka. I'm not ready to panic yet, but I'm getting a little nervous here because, like I said, this is now 2 straight weeks where he's been very underwhelming, despite basically no Mike Evans for almost 2 full games here. And a big part of it, like I said, is Baker just doesn't look the same. The connection doesn't look the same. But the reason why I'm not going to panic just yet, they get the bye this week. You got to think that's going to let them get a little bit healthier. I got to think coming out of the bye, they're going to be better. But if we see the same like Baker Egbuka connection, and when I say the same, I mean the lack of Baker Egbuka connection coming out of the bye, yeah, then we're going to start panicking. And I was ready to put Caleb Williams on the panic portion here. I mean, 3 of his last 4 games, he's had less than 13 fantasy points. Even today, when they were like having to throw the ball, playing from behind against the Ravens, couldn't get it done. But then I looked and I realized he gets the Bengals next week. Okay, if he doesn't get it done against the Bengals next week, yeah, then we panic. And then Dak Prescott, sure, maybe we were a little overconfident in what Dak Prescott could do on the road against this Denver defense. Even losing Pat Surtain for most of that game didn't help him out. But look, Dak has been so good for most of the year. I'm not ready to panic here yet. Chalking it up. It's a bad game, a bad week. Move on. Start Dak again next time. And then sure, Dalton Kincaid did not boom. Thankfully, that means Pierre will never put a tight end on the boom video ever again. Thank goodness. Look, he was not healthy. He only ran like 11 routes and only played like 13 snaps. He was not healthy today at all. Let's hope next week he's not on the injury report. Good to go. He's mostly been good. I wouldn't panic on Dalton Kincaid just yet. All right, there you go. Those are the guys you should or should not be panicking on if you got them on your fantasy team right now. But of course, we're going to have way more content for you this week to help you win that Week 9 matchup. And again, if you haven't subscribed yet, take 1 second, hit that button. We'd greatly appreciate it.